As a series, True Detective, Night Country represents a lot of firsts. It's the first installment of the long-running anthology show that doesn't have creator and executive producer Nick Pizzolatto at the helm. It's also Jodie Foster's first starring role in a television series in over 40 years, although the actor has also carved out a name for herself as a director for various shows recently within her career, from Orange is the New Black to Black Mirror. And while previous installments of True Detective have boasted all manner of polar opposite investigative partners, Night Country also represents the first time the series is anchored around women, as Callie Reese, Catch the Fair One, steps into a role that positions her opposite Foster for arguably the show's most complicated and intriguing dynamic. With all those firsts in mind, there's no question that showrunner, director, and writer Issa Lopez had expectations to meet. Subsequent seasons of True Detective have struggled to reach the heights that were achieved in its first installment starring Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, and although Mahershala Ali's third season partially succeeded at learning the right lessons from the second's failures, it remained to be seen how a new showrunner would do in the wake of Pizzolatto's move to FX. Even with that big question hanging overhead, the very first episode of Night Country should successfully silence any doubters. Foster, Reese, and Lopez are the creative force behind this chilling thriller that fits right into the franchise, which moves up north to Alaska for a mystery that combines the supernatural and the mundane, and where it's impossibly easy for secrets and people to become lost in the night that blankets everything at this time of year. Previous seasons of True Detective have been anchored on the success of their actors, and Night Country continues that trend. It's impossible to look at Ennis Police Chief Elizabeth Danvers and not see Foster, who feels simultaneously meant to play this character and perfectly suited for such a role at this stage in her career. In lesser hands, Liz could run the risk of becoming a stereotype, a hardened woman who eschews emotional connection for convenient physical flings, many of them with already married men, earning the ire of their wives, and successfully damages most of her other relationships. But Liz is also a shrewd investigator, even if she's been relegated to a small, somewhat sleepy Alaskan town by her superior, Ted Corsaro, a delightfully utilized Christopher Eccleston, in a move that feels distinctly punishing. One has the sense that her skills are being wasted in Ennis, even if she's making her own, unique effort to pass on valuable lessons to young cop Peter Pryor, Finn Bennett, under the wary eye of his father, Hank, John Hawkes. When Liz, Peter, and Hank are called to look into the disappearance of 8 men from a nearby Arctic research station, the strangeness of the case proves to be exactly what Liz has been waiting for. Something to sink her teeth into and doggedly refuse to let go even if Corsaro is hovering in the wings to assume command of the investigation. Liz's various leads force her path to cross with local trooper Evangeline Navarro, Reese, when the two discover these disappearances are connected to another case, the murder of an indigenous woman named Annie Kay, a local midwife and activist, that still remains unsolved. Liz and Navarro's pasts are hopelessly intertwined for reasons that are slowly and gradually bared to us as the story progresses, and as they enter into this new partnership with begrudging reluctance, they stumble into a greater conspiracy that forces each of them to confront their most pervasive ghosts. Night Country, like the best installments of True Detective before it, knows how to walk the line between the inexplicable and the obvious, irresistibly dangling each possible narrative thread in front of us to tug on. But, as Liz frequently reminds us throughout the season, of which all 6 episodes were provided for review, sometimes it's not about trying to nail down all the answers, but making sure you're asking the right questions. Let's face it, a lot of recent TV shows, and even some movies, don't know how to make true night scenes look very good. Whether it's trying to manipulate scenes clearly filmed in the daylight into representing a different hour, or newly released film stills forcing us to squint to make out any kind of character detail, certain cinematography just succeeds at looking muddy rather than rendering the scene effectively moody. Ongoing debate about the ideal format to watch these sorts of projects in aside, True Detective, Night Country doesn't struggle in the slightest when working within the Icelandic environment that doubles for Alaska. Director of photography Florian Hofmeister, Pachinko, The Terror, Tar, paired with Lopez's keen directorial eye, makes the show an evocative, striking feast to look at, but also makes it impossibly easy to see what's happening, even in some of the season's blackest moments. As the investigation plays out against the backdrop of a polar night, in which even the most infrequent light casts a distinct blue tint over everything, it lends an unmistakably eerie feeling to certain events. Characters are swiftly swallowed up in darkness with one wrong step. The term, Night Country, is given stark meaning later on in the season, and the unpredictable terrain of ice and snow can be just as treacherous as those in Ennis who might be willing to kill to protect certain secrets. Watching Night Country calls to mind another show that also made use of Iceland as its backdrop, FX's A Murder at the End of the World, and like Britt Marling and Zalbat Manglage's twisty mystery thriller, True Detective's fourth season knows how to wield its setting to unnerving yet arresting effect, thanks to a director and cinematographer who willingly lean into the gloom in all its forms.